guess I could start with something, tell you my impressions of you. It appears to me that since I was here last time, people seem to have greater, more intense problems. This is for all people in general, not no one in particular, and also for the majority of people that I was talking with, which is more than what we have here. And just tonight alone, before I came here, I spoke to 5 different people who are not with our group, or they weren't with our group last time either. Now this intensification of problems appears as though people are going backwards, but it isn't true. People are beginning to rise to this state where they can outwardly express themselves, where problems are now coming out into the manifest rather than staying held in the mind. When people are very apathetic, it's difficult for them to express. It's difficult for them to do. And so the problems remain swirling around in their mind, and most of them don't come out in the world. When they get just one step above that, they're still in this apathetic state, which is a very low state, and they're beginning to acquire some of the capability of doing. And then their problems become manifest. And it seems as though the world is falling in on them. But it's actually a state of growth to move up from the tamasic, the complete tamasic state, and come up into the beginnings of the rajasic state. And that's a state of tamasic rajasic. Are you all familiar with these terms? Tamasic, rajasic, sattva. Are you, Jim? So when we come up into this tamasic, rajasic state, we begin to do with tamasic tendencies. So we're somewhat destructive, and that includes ourselves. So we become destructive to ourselves, we have problems, and things seem to get worse. Sometimes we think we're going backwards, but actually we're moving ahead. Now the step above tamasic rajasic would be pure rajasic, one of doing it, and right in the middle you're equally destructive and constructive. You move up another step, you move into the rajasic sattvic area, where you're a big doer constructively. You step up from there, you go into the sattvic state, you don't have to do, just have to be. So the overall picture, as I see it, is that the world is moving up into this tamasic, rajasic state, and everyone seems to have bigger and better problems. Now it's not everyone. Of course the percentage of those on the path is less than the percentage of those in the world. They're all involved in this. Do you see it expressed in the race issue, juvenile delinquency, Vietnam, Cyprus, Congo? It's prevalent everywhere today. The way they're coping with it is in a tamasic way, a destructive way. Problems don't have to be solved by killing each other, by violence, by looting. Problems could be solved by discussion, and should be. But it's a step forward from a lower state. The world today is in a very low state, of beingness. It's usually called the materialistic age. You haven't read Sri Yukteswar's Holy Science on the Cycles? It lays out the various cycles of Earth and how we go from the top to the bottom to the top every 24,000 years. We came out of the lowest stage about 500 AD. You know what the Dark Ages were. We're moving into the second stage, and we're having the growing pains of getting out of the first into the second. But the second is not a highly spiritual stage. It's a stage where technically we advance tremendously. The third stage begins the state of, we know this is a mental world. We stop fighting each other and we begin to love each other. And the fourth state is a state in which man knows his beingness in God. However, at any time, whenever anyone chooses, he moves into the highest state. We don't have to stay at the level that the world is in general. And those of us who are on the path are pulling up out of this general level of the world. Aren't we lucky? To the world, everything is hopeless. They feel helpless. We know there's a way out. No matter how much it hurts, we know there's a way out. We have a hope. And what's the way out? Not looking to the world for happiness. Not looking to people for happiness. But looking for the place where happiness is. And that place is right within us. Within our consciousness. It's our natural, inherent state, which we have, through ignorance, undone by imposing concepts of limitation. I need this, I need him, I need her, and if I don't get these things, I have trouble, I am hurt. Growth is only letting go of these concepts of limitation. Or, on the positive side, going within and seeing this unlimited being that we are. Anytime we have trouble, anytime we have a problem, we're trying to be the ego. We're trying to express the self through the limited ego, and it's too small, it gets squeezed and it hurts. So if there is a problem, the thing to do is to ask yourself, what am I doing? Wherein is my ego demanding, seeking, and so forth? If the answer comes, if you see how ego-wise you're causing this so-called problem, you pull the cause up from the subconscious into the conscious, and once it's conscious, you naturally let go of it. The reason why one doesn't let go of it is because the thought that initiated this difficulty is subconscious. So either we make the thought conscious and let go of it, or we know strongly enough that we are not this body, this mind, this world. We are the self, and when you feel the self, the feel of the self is nothing but unlimited joy. What more do you want? Now you got everything. Might sound quite indicting when I say any problem, any trouble is ego motivated. But that you'll find is true. When you'll be yourself, there is no problem. There is nothing that will not fall into line perfectly, harmoniously, with no effort. The more ego-motivated we are, the more difficult the world is, the more difficult it is to accomplish something, the less harmony there is, and the greater the misery we have. And it's really as simple as I'm putting it. What's not easy is to let go of these wrong habits of insisting upon being an ego. The habits are strong, they've been well ingrained over millenniums, or maybe hundreds of thousands of years. But all of us on the path are now letting go of these things. And we don't let go easily because of habit that's been there over a long, long period of time. However, the moment we choose to let go, then we can. If we say we can't let go, it's because we really don't want to. The desire to let go of the misery isn't strong enough. But actually it's as simple as this. Not easy, but simple. But once we accept it, see the simplicity of it, all we need to do is affect it. And no one can do it for us, but we ourselves. You have to let the ego sense go. The ego is, I am an individual Lester, and I have a body, and I can do things. That's wrong. If I am the self, there is no Lester. I have to get Lester out of the way and let self, the God, operate. Actually, you'll move. You'll sort of float through things. But there's no effort. If there's effort, it's ego. Now, of course, you're going to have to use effort because you're not starting off as the fully realized self. But you see, when this girl goes to the extreme, she lets go, and things happen effortlessly. That's letting go and letting God. Professing faith, professing all these things doesn't do it. Actually having them does it. The fact that she has troubles, see, is absolute proof that she doesn't have the conviction of God. Because God is all. God is perfect. And if God is all and God is perfect, everything's perfect. What is there left for me to do? And if you take that attitude, so be it. When there's no effort, there's no ego. When the effort is extreme, there's extreme ego. And you're going to use effort until you're fully realized. Now there'll be times when you'll use no effort and everything will fall perfectly into line for you. So at times you'll be yourself. Be the witness. Be not the doer. Let it happen. It's God's world. Whatever's happening is good. Be it good or bad. It's the same thing. Whatever's happening in the world is happening in the illusion anyway. What difference does it make whether you have a dream? If the dream is good or bad, it's still a dream. But the reality of you is perfect, all joyous, all glorious, all happy. You're always free if you'll see the truth. There's nothing out there but your consciousness. Everything you see is in your mind, right? Where do you see anything and everything? In your mind. Take away that mind, where is everything? It's gone. And you do this when you lay yourself down to sleep. You let go of the mind and this whole physical world drops away. So whatever is out there is your consciousness. So if you set up another person and a problem, that's your consciousness. See the perfection. And that's all there will be. The moment you recognize a problem, you're stuck. All there is a singular oneness throughout. And you are it. That's why I say you can't get rid of a problem. Because if you recognize it, it's real. And at the moment we see the real thing, the perfection, there is no problem instantaneously. If we will just be our natural self. But we're trying to be a limited ego. That takes effort. It takes effort to be limited when your natural state is unlimited. And the more you try to be limited, the more effort it takes. But to be your unlimited self, it takes no effort. Just like your friend, when she got to extremes, she let go, and everything was straightened out. No effort. All the time she was trying and trying, things were getting worse and worse. I say, all she had to do was be herself. And if she locked herself in a chamber somewhere with a padlock, the thing would have come to her. You don't sit down and wait. You don't do anything. You just know that everything's perfect. And then the slightest thought you have will come into being immediately. There's no limitations on God the Self. Even if you thought this way on a North Pole, whatever you thought would have to come into being. If you let go, because you're invoking your infinite power. Nothing can stop it. Praying is for those who are not beyond praying. When you know as much as you know, to whom are you praying to? If you are that, why do you have to pray to it? See, praying admits duality. I pray to God. That's why Master says demand, he doesn't say ask. And then when one prays, one should pray for one thing only, more wisdom, so that you eliminate all need for any prayer, for any asking. However, it all depends on one's state of understanding. Most people in the world today need to pray. It's a beginning. But prayer admits duality. Now this is the weakest point in the Christian world, duality. God is out there. And we know that God is within. Even though Jesus said, seek ye the kingdom of God within, we still look for God without, and He's not out there, He's only within. He turns out to be our very own beingness. The word I is God, with nothing added to it. When you just say I, that feeling of I, that's the self, that's God. But when you say am something, that isn't. Or I and something, that isn't. But just pure I, and only I, and that's all you see and all you know, that's God. That's why they say God is closer than flesh. It's I. How close is I? It's closer than the flesh is. And that is God. It's reminding you of what you know, that you are that self. Just hold on to the word I only. I, and you'll be more exhilarated than you feel now. Just try it when you're alone. Just I. And not I am a body, I am a mind, but I, that feeling of being. I think the word that describes God more than any other single word is beingness. God is all beingness. We are, when we look within, all beingness, pretending we're a tiny part of it, a limited body-mind. But when you look within, you'll see that we are all beingness. So beingness is God. Beingness is also awareness, consciousness. So it's the same word. Later on you'll see them as identical. Beingness, awareness, consciousness. So be yourself and there never will be a problem. Seeing a problem in the world is trying to be a limited ego, body, mind. If you think you have a problem, you do. If you'll just accept that God is all, God is perfect, that's all there is, and look at perfection, that's all you'll ever meet with. You have to wipe out the word problem, can't, don't, won't, all negative words. In the future, when man is in a state of harmony, all these words will disappear. The higher you go, the more you see the perfection. The more you see problems, the lower you are. What you're talking about is problems. The people who see them want you to be the way they are, will tell you that you're wrong. And this is one thing you have to be on guard against. As you grow, those who are not up to you will try to pull you down to where they are. Now, it's not how much you recognize a problem and say, oh boy, this is a problem, that shows unselfishness. It's how much you love that shows unselfishness. When you love, you're very constructive, whether you're out swinging or not. Just feel love. You don't have to do a thing. You'll be doing more good for the world than all the do-gooders put together who are out there in action. Because thought is far more powerful than action. It's the basis of action. It's the initiator. It comes before it. It determines action. a high being sitting in a cave somewhere, all by himself, is doing far more good for the world than all these organizations that combine and get into action. Now we're back to what we were talking about before. The bottom state is inaction. The middle state is a very active state. The top state is inaction. Now the bottom state is one of inertia. It's destructive. It just wants to stop everything, actually destroy everything. The top state lets everything be just the way it is because everything is perfect. The middle state is the action state, which pulls you up or pulls you down. Now as you start coming up, those who are in the active state with the tamasic, destructive tendencies will try to pull you down to where they are. Where's your conviction if you go with them? If you go with them, your tendency is to believe more the way they do. Now the right way is easy. Anytime it's difficult, it's the wrong way. The right way is letting go, letting God, and everything falls into line perfectly. No effort. But what we have to do, it's not God, it's me, the ego, wanting to change things, correct this world, and so forth. Whatever will help you to do and be what you think you should do and be.
That's what I want to know.
To know who and what you are is the very best thing. There's been moments when you let go and felt your real self. How does it feel? You're infinite, omniscient, omnipotent, right here and now. Be that. Stop being this limited, miserable Jim. You want to help the world, help yourself. The more you're capable of loving, the more you're helping the world. What's that sentence? Parliaments cannot right the world, but people loving can. The President of the United States must necessarily represent the sum total consciousness, the sum total thinkingness of all the people of the United States added together. Divine laws supersede man-made laws. Consciousness determines everything. That's all there is out there, it's consciousness. What happens to us individually is our consciousness. We don't like what's happening to us in the world, all we have to do is change our consciousness. And the whole world out there is different. What do you think of that statement that thou art that, you are omnipotent, omniscient, and omnipresent? Just stop being what you're not. A body, mind, a limited being. So simple. There's no solution to problems in the world. You go on forever and ever solving problems in the world, and you'll have more and more and more. As long as you recognize problems, they exist. The thing that makes you let go of problems is the severity of problems. What we do is we stick our hand in a fire and we say, "Ouch, it's hot, my hand's burning, boy, do I have a problem." I come home and I say, Why stick your hand in the fire? That's all. If you have a problem, you're putting your hand into a problem and yelling it hurts. And acting as though you're not putting your hand into it. You act as though you're not doing it. But that problem is only in your consciousness. It's in your mind. Change your mind, change your consciousness, and immediately the world out there is changed. Try it and you'll see that it's so. Or think back and you'll see that these things have happened already. A better answer to what to do is to keep holy company rather than listen to them and try to please them. Mix with people who are with you in your direction. You'll have no problem finding people who are not. And that, almost everywhere you move, people are not. So why make your friends that way also? And that's why it's good to have groups. That's why it's good to meditate in a group. Wednesday, Friday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. And then in between, just mix with people who are conscious of the positive. That's the very prime good of coming together as a group. Your direction is, you're constantly reminded of your direction. You're with people who are striving in that direction, and you're in an atmosphere that is moving actually opposite to what the world wants you to move in. So keep holy company as much as possible.